Hello and welcome. If most of you aren't familiar with me, I don't think I've ever hosted one of these before, but you've seen me on this channel many times before. I am Carter Elliott of Sleepers Media, and I am here with my good friend Lukas Harkins of Heat Check, and we are here to preview what Lucas has deemed the Desperation Bowl. Is that the trademark name we're going for this
Yeah,
game?
I mean, essentially at this point, it's kind of what it looks like. It's hard to say that in early December, but the way these teams have played of late, it's kind of getting to that point where they need one.
I mean, there's nothing better than a Desperation Bowl being talked about on December 7th of the season with this game
The
coming
best
up.
bowl game until January 1, probably.
Yeah, sure, why not? But for those of you who are wondering, we are going to be previewing the Villanova and UCLA game, two blue bloods in college basketball, in my opinion. Mick Cronin and the UCLA Bruins from the Pac-12 have had a solid year, I think. I think they battled with two good teams in Marquette and Gonzaga. There's a lot of questions with getting the team to work together. They had a couple pieces come over from overseas, a couple guys that need to get worked into the fold, but you can never really doubt a Mick Cronin team. And then on the other side, you have the Villanova Wildcats, who they have second-year coach Kyle Neptune, and he's trying to make things get cohesive as well. And they can't seem to put together some wins. They keep losing to teams that are from Philly. What is your temperature check with these two teams before we actually get into the matchup?
Yeah, I think UCLA is in a little bit of a more straightforward position. I mean, as you mentioned, they played two tight games against good teams. The UC Riverside game is probably the only reason that there's been any concern, but it's still a win. Like when you look back on it, it affects their metrics for not winning their adjusted efficiency margin well enough, but like it's still a win for them. And everyone's going to lay an egg here and there. And they didn't play well in that game. And so far, it's a 2-loss season to teams that are both legitimate top 15 teams in the country and teams that have, especially Marquette, rolled over other opponents this year. And I think that's, and especially in that UCLA game, the UCLA Marquette game, the first 20, 25 minutes of that game, you felt pretty good
Yeah.
about how well UCLA can play when it's at its best. Nova has good wins, a few of them. Like a few, they don't make any sense. They haven't really made any sense. They got Texas Tech is an all right win. Maryland is iffy, but a high major win. And North Carolina is a nice win. Memphis is a nice win. But as you said, they haven't beaten anybody. They've really struggled against the rest of Philly. And obviously, a K-State loss in overtime did no wonders for what's now a 3-game losing streak.
Right. And both teams, more, maybe some more than other. I mean, I've done a little bit of research as far as Justin Moore. He had a knee injury, I believe, in his last game. So who knows what his status is going to be for the next game. But that's one thing that I think gives Villanova an edge in my eyes, is that though they have the pieces with everyone they added from the portal, from Bamba, to Burton, all the guys added from the portal, they have something there, but they're always able to come back and depend on the guys that have been there. The Justin Moores, the Eric Dixon, who's had honestly one of the best years in the country for any big man. Doesn't really get the accolades being in the Big East with, the Colts and the Klingons and the Osos of the world, but he has been a really, really good big for this team. So if they are going to be missing Justin Moore, I look at these two teams matching up, and on UCLA, you have Adem Bona, who's a great, lengthy, active big, someone that can stick with a guy like Eric Dixon. So, this is a spot where for Villanova, I think they're coming from a point where this will make 4 losses in a row. Like, that's where I kind of shifted to, oh my God, this team's spiraling.
With at Creighton next.
And it doesn't get any easier going into the Big East. What do you think Villanova has to do in this game against UCLA? Like, is there a certain way you think they should attack them? Because if they don't have Justin Moore, I don't really know what's the way to go for them.
It's a weird math game. It really is. I mean, Nova's taken 50% of its shots from 3 this year. UCLA's defense has given up 50% of their shots are given up on threes. Like, if Nova hits threes, it's going to be tough. And I think that without Justin Moore, if he's available, obviously he's a knockdown shooter as well. And if he's unavailable to go, that probably means, more minutes for a guy like Brendan Hawson off the bench, who's struggled recently, but was upwards of 40% as a freshman last year. He's already taken, I think, 50 or more threes already this year in a bench role. He's a guy that could get hot. And you look at the flip side, Villanova's biggest defensive struggle this year, 294th in the country in 3-point percentage. UCLA doesn't get a lot up from deep. They're really going to try and attack the ball inside. They're a Mick Cronin coach team that's going to try and work the ball and be physical and get inside. on both ends of the floor. And Nova's much more perimeter oriented. So I think it's going to come down to hitting those shots, and Philly will have the advantage of being in the Wells Fargo Center and getting the crowd into it for some big shots.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't overlook the fact that UCLA is going across the country for this game. Like that is for sure a factor. Sebastian Mack too had a bit of a toe injury, I believe, in the UC Riverside game. I'm pretty sure he's going to play.
I saw he was day to day.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to play. Mick Cronin, I think, is going to be back too. He was a little bit under the weather. In this game, it's going to be massive, and I say massive because it seems to be something that happens. But Adem Bona, my boy, I love him. I love him a lot. I really love him as a player, but he cannot stay out of foul trouble. And if he can find a way to stay out of foul trouble in this game, I think they're going to have an advantage, at least with him down low. I mean, he has the quickness of a big who is 6'8", but he has the measurables, and he's 6'10", and he is a freak of nature athlete. And for as good as Eric Dixon's 6'8". He's a 6'8" center. And Bona, if he wants to, he will have an advantage on him, but he needs to stay on the floor, and he has some affection for fouling that I really can't find my way around it. I want to make sure that I give Villanova a fair shake in this, because I've been one of Kyle Neptune's biggest critics, okay? I would actually give him a lot of credit for stopping this landslide, because this is a 3-game losing streak. And, the game against Kansas State, probably one they could have won, took a really good effort from Tyler Perry and the Kansas State Wildcats to win that basketball game. The loss to Drexel is not okay. I mean, you just really can't have that. St. Joe's played well. They got some guys. That's not necessarily the worst loss in the world, even though it is at home. So it's going to be massive, I think, for Villanova moving forward and what they want to do this season, that they find a way to win this game at home. Like, playing at home is massive in college basketball, and it's something that I don't think you could take for granted this season. I mean, I've seen really, really good teams go on the road and look like complete shells of themselves because it's so hard to win on the road. So this is a game, honestly, I expect Villanova to win. I think they should win this basketball game. Are you leaning one way or the other on that?
Yeah, I think I lean towards Nova, and I think you've kind of hit on a little bit I think it means more to Villanova than it does to UCLA at this point. Like, I think UCLA maybe needs to win more for a resume purpose, but when you walked into this season a month and a half ago, UCLA had a pretty high ceiling, but they weren't really seen as that true AP, like, top 20-ish team. Villanova had, I'll admit, I was one of those guys who had, like, this team talent-wise has top 10 potential, and they have not lived up to that for the last 2 weeks. And really, they need to get back on track in what is a pretty loaded Big East at the top, but a super open middle. So if they can get some momentum going in this game before conference play starts, I think that's going to be crucial for them to be, maybe that fourth team outside of UConn, Marquette, and Creighton.
Yeah, because you expect a team with this many new pieces, like, you can't be too tough on them. Like, you're going to expect Nova to have a slip up early in the season. You can't just keep on slipping up, though. There's got to be a game or a point.
They're giving too much brotherly love to their.
Wow, I'm mad I didn't think of that. God damn it, right? That was really good, Lucas. I should have thought of that. That's supposed to be my wheelhouse. But yeah, like, at a certain point, they gotta kind of put things together, take the turn. And it's on the players, but it's also on Coach Neptune. Like, this is part of the transfer portal and bringing players in. You want to bring certain players in that do certain things. You want to get talented players, but you want to get players that eventually click and work together. So, in the second year for him, I think he's even under obviously coming from under the umbrella of Jay Wright, it's obviously the microscope's going to be on him in a really big way. So it's going to be a really big game for them. And as much as Villanova should win the game, I'm going to go with UCLA to win this game. I think that UCLA, if Adem Bona is able to stay out of foul trouble, I think they're going to do enough defensively. And I just don't know, even if Justin Moore plays in this game, I think him not being 100% is going to be big for them. And if I'm Villanova too, you had the injury history with Justin Moore last season. I'm playing things so safe because we saw what that team looked like last year without Justin Moore. So I'm playing it as safe as possible. I think UCLA actually goes on the road, picks up a win in Philly, and things might get a little bit bleak for Villanova. But I think that UCLA, they just have something about them that I don't know if I'll be able to shake them. Like, even when I talked about Pac-12 preview earlier in the season, it's just like, I'm not going to count out Mick Cronin and UCLA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they got pieces too that can get together. I mean, Mara.
Mac's been fantastic.
Oh, Mac has been amazing. He's gonna like tear the Pac-12. Well, actually, I'll see him next year in the Big Ten. He'll be at the Breslin Center, probably giving 6-year AJ Hoggard a lot of buckets. But yeah, I think that UCLA will actually take advantage of this opportunity and go on the road and get a win, and then we'll probably have to come back on here on the recap and have a conversation about our good friend Coach Neptune.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, I think that like if Villanova wins this game at home, I don't think there's much of a really cause for concern for UCLA. It could be another one of those games, like Gonzaga and Marquette. Like it could just be a close loss, and those were neutral site games, what I recall. And this is going to be the true road game against Villanova. Like I don't think you're really going to look at it as a bad loss for a UCLA team that has time and still has some matchups left in non-conference left to pick up a quality win. They still get Ohio State and Maryland before the start of conference play. Whereas if Villanova loses this game, this is the point. Like it's already been like starting to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you lose this one, you end non-conference play. I want to say with a very similar record, if not the same as last year at this point. And I think that that's going to open up a lot of questions about where this team can go, even in a Big East that seems pretty open.
Right.
Bottom, after the top three, of course.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. No. That's a given. That's a given. You really don't got to state that. But yeah, I mean, you have two different teams with two different. It seems like, now that you mentioned that, UCLA, they didn't really have the preseason expectations. So everything they're doing is just us kind of like, oh, UCLA. Oh, we learned about Sebastian Mack. He's got something to him. Bona's a good player. They got these other players around. Dylan Andrews is very good defensively. They just got guys, and then Mick Cronin.
Everyone's taking steps.
Yeah, everyone's just gradually taking steps. Where on the other hand, everyone's looking at Nova like, we thought of this as a top 25 team. They have not looked that part outside of a couple games in Atlanta.
It felt like a pretty surefire top 25 team with a really high ceiling. And the ceiling looks almost impossible to reach now. And reaching even the floor is like, they need to win this game to be in that kind of consideration still.
Exactly. So
things have shifted with this team in 2 weeks so fast.
Oh, it's
after the Memphis win, it's like, okay, this is who we thought they could be.
Yep. But I mean, that's college basketball though. And actually that makes me excited. Me and Lucas are going to be on the recap for this game, and it could go either way. We could come on there like, UCLA fought hard, came up short, or we could go on there like sound the alarms, Villanova, who's like, what's going to happen to this team? I look forward to it. I think I just want to get this on record, Lucas, because this is a big part of the previews, and people do say this in the comments. They want to know, are you sticking with Villanova, and can I get a score prediction too?
Ooh, yeah, I'm sticking with Villanova. I think 70-64.
70-64. Okay, all right.
Yeah. I think Nova at home slows it down a bit, hits those shots. I think I'm going 70-64.
Okay, I'm gonna go. It's gonna be a close game. Gonna get away at the end with free throws.
That's where I got to 6.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give.
If nothing else, Nova will make free throws.
Yeah, that is true. I do got a point. Okay, I'm gonna go UCLA 67-60 with Nova. I think they're gonna pull it out in the end. We will be back on the recap to check this out. Lucas, I appreciate you hopping on here. For Carter Elliott from Sleepers Media. We'll have all the info down below where you can follow us. Make sure you go check out all of Lucas's stuff at Heat Check. He does great stuff. Shout out to the Butler Bulldogs this year, by the way. I'm glad you're enjoying Pierre Brooks. I miss his shooting. I'm just letting you know that right now.
He's been lights out so far this year.
Yeah, he has been. But luckily, I let our friendship shine through that, so I don't have to hold that against you. But I will catch you on Sunday, or I think they'll have the recap come out either Sunday or Monday. But Lucas, I will talk to you after this game, my friend.
Absolutely.